Hi there, Jeep owners. Today on your 2022 Jeep Wrangler 4xe, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install Roadmaster's Tow Defender. And this is what our Tow Defender looks like when it's installed. You can see that it's going to provide a mesh layer between our motorhome and our vehicle, so all those rocks and debris that's getting thrown up by our motorhome tires will get deflected by the shield, protecting your vehicle from scratches and abrasions. It is a meshed design, so that way airflow can flow through it, so you don't just got a parachute here in the back. And it is adjustable for various different vehicles and tow bars. So if you do have a different setup than what we've got here, in most cases this is going to work. We also have replacement fabrics available here at eTrailer. Those can be useful for things that happen down the road. If you happen to have any type of accidents or things like that that damage it, you can get replacement fabric. These also will work with not just Roadmaster tow bars, but they'll also work with other manufacturers' tow bars such as Blue Ox, Demco, and the like. Now, our Tow Defender is permanently installed onto our tow bar. You've got your adapters here at the arm end, and you also have the connection here where it slides over the stinger end of the tow bar. But that doesn't mean that we can't get this thing out of the way for whenever we're trying to hook up and stuff. Obviously, it'd be difficult to hook up with this draped across the top of your components here. So the pins located here on the end adapters, we can go ahead and remove those on each side. After removing the pins, the tow bar will lift right out of the bracket, and then we can just go ahead and roll it on up, whichever way works easiest for you to keep it all together here. Yeah, we're just gonna kind of just fold it a little bit, kind of roll it around, bring it up here to the end. And you do get some buckles here, buckle straps included with your Tow Defender, so that way after you've rolled it up, we can secure it in several locations to keep it rolled up like this. And this can be useful if maybe you're just driving your motorhome around. You normally leave your tow bar and flat tow components on the back of your motorhome, but you're not bringing your vehicle. So this way you can have it not hooked up, still utilize your motorhome as you normally would. And that keeps it plenty out of the way, so when you go to unhook your tow bar, things like that, we can now easily access everything here. Our brackets will stay with the tow bar, everything stays kind of attached there. The pins, I recommend just reinserting those, so that way you've got them the next time that you want to use it. Now, the Tow Defender does have some competition. There is also the Rock Guardian, which is a vertical mount that will protect your vehicle. Both of them seem to work fairly well. This one does seem to work a little bit better if you're trying to protect your vehicle and those around you. It seems to deflect more that way, whereas the Rock Guard is pretty much just there to design to protect your vehicle. So you can put your priorities down for which one works best for what you're looking to achieve there. And our arms here towards the motorhome side, they do pivot. And you can see that here it is a gas-filled shock there to help keep it in the extended position as much as possible. But when you make a sharp turn, it's possible that the fabric here may be pulled too taut, and we don't want the fabric to break. Roadmaster knows that as well, so that's why they've added those in there to allow some flex to it. Now, even though it does have this flex, it is important that you don't set this to the maximum width and make it completely taut like this all the time. Because when you do turn, you're just going to be putting more stress on it that will wear out the fabric prematurely. So you want to have just a little bit of a drape like we've got here, so that way it's not overly stressing it all the time, just kind of puts a little stress in there when you're turning. So now that we've covered some of the features of our Tow Defender here, if you follow along with me, we'll show you how to get it installed here. We are going to be installing it onto a Jeep with a Roadmaster Nighthawk, so if you do have a different manufacturer's tow bar or the same manufacturer but a different tow bar and vehicle, the procedure is still going to be pretty much the same. The only difference might be the location of the holes. It does give you some various options, so that way you can adjust it for your particular setup. So yeah, let's just get right into it. We'll begin our installation here with our vehicle hooked up to our motorhome. The first thing we need to do is get them in a nice straight line and fully extended, so that way we know when we install our components how long we need to set our Tow Defender, because there are a couple of different slots for the bars to accommodate for various lengths. And there are going to be a lot of different various lengths depending on which tow bar you got. The Nighthawk here is actually one of the longer tow bars that's available, so it's going to be a little bit wider But also the base plate, your vehicle matters, because depending on how wide your base plate is, your tow bar is going to be shorter the wider it is, because it has to spread those arms out, which brings the distance closer. The closer your arms are together, the longer the distance is going to be between your motorhome. So that's first thing, just get it all set up like this. We put it in flat tow, we pulled it forward, got it stretched out. Then you want to make sure you put pull your parking brake or something in your vehicle here, because we are going to disconnect it from our motorhome. We don't want this to roll away from us. We just want it in that stretched out position. So we've already got this guy with its parking brake on. It's ready for us to disconnect. So we're going to go ahead and pull it out here on this side. Just go ahead and remove your pin and clip. So we went ahead and disconnected our safety cables and wiring right here, just enough to be able to slide this out. This is the piece we're going to slide on there. So as soon as we slide it out, we'll put this on and slide it right back in and pin it back up. You may or may not need to loosen the screws here if it doesn't want to slide on. All right, now we got that slid on there. We'll just bring this back up and pin it back in. And we'll slide our pin back in, and then we'll get our fabric. We're gonna be getting that laid out here in just a moment. So here we have our Tow Defender fabric. It typically comes folded up like this. We're gonna partially unfold it to the point where we can install our arms here. So if you look at it on the arm, depending on the angle you've got, you can bring it closer or further away based on that angle. You could also push this shaft in, but it's a lot harder to push that shaft in than it is to just get the right angle here and just push that right onto the ball end. We'll do the same thing here on the other side. So we got that guy there. We can see our ball's not quite lining up, so all we got to do is just tweak our angle just a little, and it snaps right in. This assembly is going to sit on top of our tow bar, and these holes will line up with the holes in our bracket over there. So we'll just go ahead and bring it over, set it in place. It just slides right on top of the tow bar there. So now we're going to secure the two pieces together, but if you look, you have several holes. You've got your low, medium, and high settings. So we're going to line ours up like this. We're going to just line up this with the high setting and that with the low setting and secure it in place just like that there. So now we'll take it, we'll pick which position we want to put ours in. Just choose whichever one works best for your setup. Slide your smaller bolts. These are the 3/8 ones. They're the shorter, smallest diameter ones in your kit. They just slide right on through there. And we'll put a nylon locking nut on the other side. And now we'll just snug it down with our 9/16 socket and wrench. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to install the brackets on the end of our arms here. You do have two options for holes that you can choose, whichever one works best for your particular vehicle setup. We figured it looked a little bit nicer using this hole, but either one will work. It just depends on your spacing in your vehicle and your particular setup. So we're going to show you on this side how to do it. I was just giving you the example of what we're doing over there. So we'll have to remove the factory bolt, and the reason this has to come out is because it's not long enough to accept the new bracket. So we'll use a 1/4 inch Allen key and a 9/16 socket to remove the bolt. And that'll thread out of there. There we go. So now if you look at the length of the bolt, we do get 3 different length bolts in our kit. So this bolt here, this one's going to be too short. You can see it's even shorter than the factory bolt. So the next size up, this is a pretty good size for us. It just adds a few threads. That'll be enough for us to accept our bracket and still have a couple of threads poking out. You do get a really long one as well. And if you want to use the really long one just to ensure you've got enough threads, there is no issue with using the longest one here, as long as the threaded portion is visible on bottom. If you run out of threads to where this portion's sticking out the bottom, it won't work. But in most cases, you should be fine. We can slide it down just to show you that it probably will have threads sticking out. It gets a little stiff inside the washers there. Okay, you can see it's threaded all the way down, so the long bolt would be fine, but we're gonna use one that'll just look a little bit nicer if we use the medium one, because then we won't have so many threads poking down. Now we are gonna wanna put our bracket on there, so choose your hole, just make sure we're lined up, because you do have some washers that are in here that you do need to make sure stay lined up. So just keep an eye on those as you're sliding your bolt down through there. Sometimes you gotta tweak it back and forth just a little bit to get it to slide all the way through them. I usually kind of twist it like I'm threading it to make it go a little bit easier. There we go. And then we're just gonna slide it until it's roughly straight out. And then on bottom, we'll place our washer and our nut. And then we'll use a 3/4 inch socket and wrench to snug it down. Now we're gonna stop once we get right there, because we do want to be able to rotate it a little bit so we can make sure that we get it lined up properly. This is a little bit more snug than I would want it to be at this point. So we're just kind of rotating it back and forth. There we go, we got to free up a little, because when we put our bar in here, it needs to line up with the bracket that we put on the other side. So definitely just hold off on going all the way snug, so that way we can make our adjustment as necessary. All right, so now we can take our cloth here, and we're gonna just kind of bring it this direction, just to first get a visual idea of roughly where we think we're going to use either the longer or shorter slot here, because you can shorten or lengthen the distance of your fabric slightly by choosing either this hole here or this one. We're going to go with the longer set because it seems to line up pretty good. We do go a little bit past it, so there'll be a little slack, but we can adjust that out with the collar that we had slid on our tow bar earlier. So that looks good. We're going to use this outer one here. Also, it's a good idea to kind of just line this up to where you got your center here, and see where these guys slide through, so we can see our outer one here. This one here is pretty much right where our bracket is, so we're likely going to not insert our bar into that one. Well, so we'll skip that one, use this one, use this one. That one looks good. We'll use this one. So we are gonna in there, and then we'll skip this one again and then go right into that one. So it looks like the one right outside the outer is the one that we're gonna skip. Or actually, let's see. It's important to make sure you got it held out. I actually think we might move this one here. So just kind of hold it up. We're just determining that right now. So let's see, that looks pretty good. So that looks good there. And then if you can, we're trying to bring it straight from where the bar is there over, so we can see how it's gonna line up. So you actually, after reassessing it, we'll use the outer one, the small flap just inside. This is the one we're then gonna skip, go into that one, this one, skip that one, and then those two. Here's our bar. You can see it does have a hole there and a little pin here, so when you slide these together, that pin will snap them together. We don't want to snap them together just yet. We need to slide it into our assembly here. So we can go ahead and slide one end in here, and then I just kind of slide that on past, because this is our center point. We know we were going to use this one, so we'll slide through this one. The next one was the one we were intending on skipping to clear our bracket, so we'll skip that one. It'll then slide through this one. And we are putting the plastic caps towards the outside, because that obviously won't snap together in the middle there. And then we'll go in our final outer piece here. We're just going to repeat this on the other side with our other bar, and then we can snap them together in the middle. All right, we got that one slid through, so now we'll just line these two up. The one with the small peg here will fit into the other one, so just slide it on in there. Press down on the pin, and there we go. Our pin snapped out, so we are good to go. The pin should face towards our vehicle there. We can then lift our bar up and set it into our bracket, and this is why we wanted to be able to rotate these brackets, so we could get it to slide right in there pretty easily. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is pin this in right here. Now there are some pre-drilled holes, and if you're lucky, it'll line up with one of those holes. Now, unfortunately, our holes here aren't going to line up with our bracket on each side. I mean, obviously I could pull this over and this one will line up, but then the other side does not line up. So if we center our bar, and I'm using the holes as a reference, so if I put just a little bit of the hole covered up on this side, a little bit of the hole is covered up on that side. So this is pretty much center right there. We're now gonna take a 5/16 drill bit. We're gonna drill through our bar here, straight out the other side. All right, once we get it drilled through, we can take our pins now and line that back up. Pin it in place. We'll then go over to the other side, drill that side out the same way, and secure our pin. All right, so now at this point we want to snug down our collar, and you can make your adjustment here for how taut you want your covering to be. Now we do want it to be fairly slack free, but we need to have a little bit of movement in it so that when we turn the vehicle, it can make those turns without damaging our cover. So this is actually pretty good right here. So we're just gonna snug these down. We've got a 9/16 wrench we'll use. 15 millimeters, also a very close size. Snug that up. All right, that's pretty snug. That's pretty snug. And then we can take the lock nuts here, tighten those down. And then our jam nut here, we'll just snug that up to ensure that it stays in the location that we set it to here. Now that we've got everything secured on there, at this point, if these were left a little bit loose for adjustment purposes, just go back and snug those down. We do want it to still be loose so that the arms here can pivot in the assembly. So you don't want to go crazy tight. We just wanted to get out the majority of slack and stuff there. And that completes our installation of Roadmaster's Tow Defender on our 2022 Jeep Wrangler 4xe.